This is the story of the hidden fragility behind the world's most famous football brand. This is the history Manchester United never tells you. They are one of the biggest clubs in the world, a global institution, but their history is less a story of endless glory and more a catalogue of near-death experiences. Before they were even Manchester United, they were Newton Heath, and in 1902 they were essentially dead. Served with a winding-up order, neck-deep in debt, they were just days away from total dissolution. This wasn't the strong, stable foundation of a giant. It was a desperate, 11th-hour rescue operation funded by businessmen who demanded a name change just to survive. They bought their way out of oblivion. Even after becoming Manchester United, stability remained a myth. You hear about the titles, but they often omit the constant cycles of catastrophe. They were relegated in 1922, back up, then relegated again in 1931. This was not a dominant force. It was a yo-yo club, a fact often brushed aside in favor of the Busby Babes. The Busby Babes were a tragedy that should never be forgotten, but even as Matt Busby rebuilt the team, the cycle of instability continued. They were relegated again in 1974. 3 separate relegations in their history. The club's narrative smooths over these wilderness decades, making their rise under Busby seem inevitable, rather than the desperate struggle it truly was. But the biggest secret they buried came just a few years later. By 1977, under manager Tommy Docherty, United had won the FA Cup, beating bitter rivals Liverpool. Docherty was beloved. He was successful. But just weeks later, he was gone. The club's official line was performance or mutual consent, but the reality was a scandal so explosive the club had to smother it instantly. Docherty was sacked for having an affair with the club's physiotherapist's wife. A massive trophy, followed immediately by a moral scandal that cost the manager his job. This was the dark underbelly of a great club that they tried to erase from the records. This underlying chaos continued even into their greatest era. When Sir Alex Ferguson was hired, he inherited a deeply unstable club with a culture of sacking trophy-winning managers. And for 3 years, he failed to fix it. He finished 11th in the league. By 1989, Ferguson was facing the sack. He was one FA Cup run away from becoming another forgotten name in the club's chaotic past. It was the 1990 FA Cup final replay that saved him. Not brilliant league domination, but a single, desperate cup win. The greatest dynasty in English football was built on a moment of extreme fragility, a decision that could have gone either way. And when that dynasty finally ended in 2013, the club proved they had learned nothing about stability. They were structurally unprepared for Ferguson's retirement. The reigns of Moyes, Van Gaal, and the subsequent managers weren't just a dip, they were the predictable collapse of a club that had relied on one man to paper over deep, structural cracks. The result? Failing to qualify for the Champions League for the first time in 18 years, and then enduring their worst-ever Premier League finish. Even winning the FA Cup in 2024 was immediately overshadowed by finishing 8th with a negative goal difference. The story of Manchester United is not just one of 20 league titles. It's a story of constant near relegation, financial ruin, moral scandals, and a history where their greatest managers were almost fired. This is the truth behind the brand. A club that has always been one bad decision away from implosion. And they never wanted you to know just how fragile their foundations truly are. What part of this untold history do you think is the most shocking? Let me know in the comments below.